In the world of intrigue and betrayal on The Young and the Restless, things are always complicated and volatile. Especially when the main characters are faced with difficult situations, tested loyalties, and fractured relationships. One of the most notable stories of the past few months has been the situation that Michael Baldwin, Summer Newman, and Kyle Abbott are facing. As tensions continue to rise between the Abbott and Newman families, Michael has to make difficult decisions, and his loyalty to Victor Newman is severely tested. But can Michael stay loyal to Victor, or will he be drawn into the schemes of Diane Jenkins Abbott, who is drawing him into dangerous situations? Michael Baldwin, cornered Michael Baldwin, one of the Newman family's top lawyers, has always been known for his intelligence and sharpness. However, in recent days, he has been facing a situation he never expected. Diane Jenkins Abbott, a character Michael considered a friend, is in a difficult situation. Her troubles not only affect her but also drag Michael into a vortex of intrigue that he could not have foreseen. Although Michael always tries to maintain a professional relationship with all the characters in the Newman and Abbott world, Diane, with her charm and talent for manipulating situations, makes things more complicated than ever. She has her own plan, a plan that may force Michael to face difficult choices between his loyalty to the Abbott family and his respect and loyalty to Victor Newman. Victor, whose trust Michael has worked so hard to regain, will not easily forgive any action that puts Michael's loyalty to him in doubt. In fact, in Victor's eyes, Michael's betrayal could have serious consequences not only for Michael personally, but also for the entire Newman family. Despite being a man capable of handling complex and stressful situations, what will Michael do when Diane begins to test his loyalty? Will he be able to overcome the temptations Diane poses and remain loyal to Victor, or will he be drawn into Diane and Jack Abbott's plot, forcing him to stand between betrayal and loyalty? Summer Newman, searching for the truth at the same time. Summer Newman, Phyllis and Jack Abbott's daughter, is facing an equally intense mental struggle. Summer has always been strong and determined, but when faced with complex family situations, she cannot help but worry about hidden truths. Summer, as an important part of the Abbott family world, always feels the need to know the truth about what is going on, especially the secrets that Diane may be hiding. She is well aware that Diane is not someone the Abbott family can fully trust, but will she be able to make the right decisions while dealing with the complicated relationships between her family members? While Summer may feel overwhelmed by the secrets that Diane is hiding, she also knows that the truth will be the key to helping her protect her family from bigger troubles. She will face many difficult situations as she searches for answers to her suspicions, and will she be able to find the truth before it is too late? Or will the truth cause a permanent rift between her and the Abbott family members, especially with Diane? Kyle Abbott, suspicion and a challenging relationship. No less important in this story is Kyle Abbott, Jack Abbott's son and one of the key figures in the family war between Abbott and Newman. Kyle has always been a quiet person and rarely intervenes in major family conflicts, but this time, he can't help but suspect that something is going on that he doesn't know about. Although Kyle has always been loyal to his family, the tension between Abbott and Newman, along with Diane's mysterious actions, has made him feel that there is something fishy going on. Kyle will not be able to sit still when he senses that what Diane is doing could directly affect the future of his family. Will Kyle be able to find the truth and face the difficult decisions between loyalty to his family and protecting the values he believes in? Or will he be drawn into the dangerous plots that Diane is planning? Abbott-Newman rivalry, a big clash is coming. The relationship between the Abbott and Newman families has always been tense, but the current situation could take the conflict to a new level. Jack Abbott and Victor Newman, two powerful men, have always had a hostile relationship, and when Diane begins to interfere in important events, the war could be about to escalate. Betrayals, intrigue, and political machinations could lead to an inevitable confrontation between the two families, and when it does, where will Michael Baldwin stand in this fight? Although Michael wants to maintain stability and stay out of family conflicts, he will be faced with difficult decisions that cannot be ignored. His loyalties will be tested in the coming weeks, and it will be seen whether he can overcome the temptations and remain loyal to Victor. Conclusion: threatened relationships and an uncertain future. The coming weeks will see dramatic developments and dramatic shifts in the relationships between the characters on The Young and the Restless. Michael Baldwin, Summer Newman, and Kyle Abbott are all facing difficult challenges in a world of betrayal and intrigue. Diane Jenkins Abbott is playing a dangerous game, and the big question is whether Michael's decisions will save his loyalty to Victor Newman, or will he be drawn into her plans? The rivalry between Abbott and Newman will go beyond personal conflict and will affect their entire family and business. Meanwhile, Summer and Kyle will face difficult choices as their families are threatened by conspiracies they cannot control. Can they hold on to the family and values they believe in, or will they be drawn into a spiral of inevitable betrayal and confrontation? Victor Newman's sophisticated maneuver, Audra Charles and the conspiracies behind the romance and competition in the world of intrigue and trickery on The Young and the Restless. No one can match Victor Newman's intelligence and ruthlessness when it comes to controlling and manipulating situations to achieve his goals. Especially in the current period, Victor has many conspiracies going on at the same time, and one of the cards he uses in his plan is Audra Charles, an ambitious and shrewd woman. Audra Charles, a card in Victor Newman's hand. Audra Charles, a talented but ambitious woman, has become an important figure in Victor's plan. Assigned to sabotage the relationship between Kyle Abbott and Claire Newman, Audra does not show any fear or hesitation in carrying out this mission. On the contrary, she is very confident in her abilities, and this confidence is not accidental. Audra knows that she can control the situation and make Kyle fall into the trap that Victor has set. But can she control everything as perfectly as she thinks? Victor has a shrewd approach to managing the people in his hands. He understands the strengths and weaknesses of each character, and with Audra, he sees that she can become a useful tool to accelerate his plans. However, this also means that Audra faces many risks. Can she maintain control when everything around her starts to turn upside down? Audra and the relationship with Kyle, hidden feelings and subtle strategies. Audra, while carrying out Victor's plan, begins to attack Kyle's relationship with Claire. While she initially tries to sow doubt in Kyle's mind about the stability of his current relationship, her small actions gradually push the relationship to the brink. Audra not only hints at an upcoming competition, but also subtly engages Kyle in conversations, making him think that there is a better opportunity for him in his career. With each clever and calculated move, Audra creates an opening for Kyle, where he begins to feel that new options may open the door to a more promising future. However, Audra also fails to realize that her strategies may begin to put her in a more complicated situation. She is too confident in her ability to manipulate Kyle, and this may lead her to make a big mistake when Kyle begins to realize that he may be being used. The secrets behind Victor's plan are not simple. Because Victor always has a vision for the future, he not only wants to destroy the relationship between Kyle and Claire, but also wants to make sure that Kyle will not gain trust in Claire's eyes. This may cause Kyle to be caught up in a competition without knowing that there is a shady plot behind it. Summer Newman, suspicion and the investigation of Audra. Things start to get more complicated when Summer Newman realizes the abnormality in the relationship between Audra and Kyle. Although Summer always tends to trust the person she loves, she cannot help but feel that something is wrong when she sees Audra frequently approaching Kyle. Even though they are just fleeting encounters, these actions cannot be overlooked by Summer, and she begins to suspect that Audra has other purposes behind the conversations she maintains with Kyle. Summer will not stop at suspicion. She will begin to investigate what Audra is really up to and whether she is pursuing a larger plan while sabotaging her relationship with Kyle. Audra will have to deal with an unwanted investigation from Summer, which could make things more complicated than ever. However, it is worth noting that Audra will not only be dealing with Summer, but also several other people in Kyle and Claire's world who will also realize that something is amiss with her actions. If Summer is determined to find out the truth, she will not hesitate to confront Audra and confront her about the suspicious movements in her relationship with Kyle. Holden Novak and his complicated relationship with Audra. The relationship between Audra and Holden Novak will also bring her unexpected challenges. Holden, a man with strong charm and a past full of complicated relationships, will not miss the opportunity to flirt with Audra. Although Audra tries to keep her distance and does not want to be drawn into love games with Holden, she cannot avoid his attention. Holden is not someone who gives up easily, and his presence will further increase the tension in the relationship between Audra and Nate Hastings. Nate, who is increasingly bored with his relationship with Audra, will not be able to ignore her shady moves. Their old feelings not only bring awkwardness but can also create unnecessary tension in Audra's current relationship with Nate. Audra will face threats from two sides: Holden, who is flirting with her, and Nate, with whom she once had an emotional affair. She will have to decide whether she can maintain her career and loyalty to Victor, or be drawn into a dangerous affair. Conclusion: competition, intrigue, and love at stake as the story between Victor, Audra, Kyle, Claire, and the surrounding characters continues to develop. Victor's schemes will become more complex. Audra, despite her confidence in her ability to control the situation, will face unforeseen challenges. Kyle and Claire's relationship may be threatened by Audra's elaborate schemes, but will she be able to maintain control when Summer's suspicions and troubles with Holden and Nate begin to complicate things? Audra's love life will be tested not only by Holden's advances, but also by her difficult decisions about staying loyal to Victor and how to keep her career afloat. Will Audra be able to keep her career afloat while facing the inevitable emotional turmoil and intrigue behind the scenes? All will be answered in dramatic and surprising twists and turns in the upcoming episodes of The Young and the Restless. Loyalties tested: Michael Baldwin, Diane Jenkins, and the complicated Abbott-Newman relationship in the complex world of The Young and the Restless, where family and work relationships are never settled. Loyalty is always a key factor that determines the fate of characters. The relationship between Michael Baldwin and Victor Newman, the two most powerful men in the Newman family, has been tested many times. However, this time, there is a new element that is putting Michael in a more difficult situation than ever: Diane Jenkins Abbott. Diane, with her sharp instincts and talent for manipulating complex situations, has her own plan, and part of that plan is to test Michael's loyalty. Diane is not only Jack Abbott's ex-wife, but also a character with a complicated relationship with Victor Newman. And as events surrounding her gradually unfold, Michael is forced to face a difficult choice: will he continue to be loyal to Victor, or will he be drawn into a conspiracy that Diane is orchestrating? Michael Baldwin and Diane's trial. Michael Baldwin has always been loyal to Victor, despite his boss's many unforgiving moments. From failures to serious mistakes in business decisions, Michael has had to go through many hardships to regain Victor's trust. Their relationship was at times on the verge of collapse, but in the end, with constant effort, Michael has proven himself to be trustworthy in Victor's eyes. However, this does not mean that Michael does not face new challenges. When Diane appears in the picture, everything begins to change. She is not only Jack Abbott's ex-wife but also someone Victor has always had a deep dislike for. However, Diane is not someone who is easily ignored. She knows that she can use her connections to manipulate the situation and draw Michael into her plans. Diane's goal is not simply to create a rift in the Newman family, but to force Michael to face a decision that he cannot easily make. Diane begins to engage Michael in conversations, hinting at the opportunities and options she is preparing for Jack. Diane's hints are not in vain. She knows how to make Michael feel that, perhaps, loyalty to Victor is not the only option he has. However, will Michael be clear-headed enough to realize that this is all part of Diane's grand plan, or will he be drawn into her seductive words? Victor Newman, betrayal and trust relationships. Victor Newman is a powerful man who does not easily forgive those who make him feel betrayed. For Michael, losing Victor's trust is unacceptable. Michael has worked hard to earn it back, and he knows that a small mistake can cause everything to fall apart. Victor is not someone who can let someone make a mistake without paying the price, and Michael knows this better than anyone. Anything that can make Victor feel betrayed will be a disaster for him. Although Michael always tries to maintain stability in his relationship with Victor, he cannot help but realize that Diane is testing his loyalty. Diane's every move is purposeful and is designed to weaken the relationship between Michael and Victor. Will Michael be able to maintain his loyalty to Victor when Diane keeps cleverly dragging him into difficult situations? The tension between the Abbott and Newman families shows no signs of abating, and when Diane begins to interfere in their relationship, things could get worse than ever. Michael is at a major crossroads in his life. Not only will he have to deal with his own feelings, but he will also have to weigh his loyalties against the new opportunities that Diane brings. Summer Newman, the search for truth. While Michael struggles with Diane's loyalties and machinations, Summer Newman, daughter of Phyllis and Jack Abbott, is searching for the truth about what's going on. Summer is a smart and sharp character, and she doesn't easily ignore the irregularities she senses. She realizes that something is not right in the relationship between Michael and Diane. She also knows that the relationship between the Abbott and Newman families has always been tense, and Diane, with her scheming past, may be trying to use Michael as a pawn in her plans. Summer, as an important part of the Abbott family, won't sit idly by when she notices the signs. She will begin to investigate what Diane is really up to and try to understand the complicated relationships going on around her. Will Summer be able to find out the truth before it's too late? Will she have the strength to face these conspiracies, or will she be drawn into the war between the Abbott and Newman families? Kyle Abbott, doubts and insecurities. Kyle Abbott, son of Jack Abbott, may not be left out of these complex conspiracies. Although he has always kept a low profile and rarely intervened in family conflicts, Kyle's suspicions will be awakened this time. He senses that something is wrong when he sees Michael and Diane getting closer, and that they may be part of a larger scheme that is affecting his family. Kyle will be unable to help but wonder if Michael is being used, or if there is some larger conspiracy that he does not understand. He will try to find out what is really going on, but the truth will not be easily revealed. Kyle's suspicions will grow, and as things begin to unravel, he will be faced with a difficult decision: whose side should he stand on in this war? Abbott and Newman feud. The big clash coming. The relationship between Jack Abbott and Victor Newman has long been a never-ending battle. And when Diane begins to interfere, things could get worse than ever. Michael Baldwin will find himself in the middle of this conflict, as he must not only choose between his loyalty to Victor and Diane's influence, but also face dilemmas regarding his Abbott family. The confrontation between Abbott and Newman could enter a new phase, with intrigue and strategy escalating. And as things explode, Michael will be faced with life-or-death decisions. Can he weather the storm and maintain his relationship with Victor, or will he be caught up in the intrigue and betrayal?